Hey guys, I hope you're all doing good. So, welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you guys through my strategy in AAA that helped me secure a score of 62 in the June 26 sitting in my very first sitting for AAA. So, what are you guys waiting for? Let's just deep dive and discuss my strategy. Well, guys, before that, to just give you a professional gist about me, I'm Arvind. I'm an Indian chartered accountant, and by God's grace, I cleared all three levels of Indian C in my very first eligible attempt. I've had 3 years of experience in statutory audit with PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is one of the big fours. And right now, at present, I'm working with HSBC in the financial reporting domain. So that's a quick professional gist about me, guys. And with regard to my June 26 sitting, I gave SBR and AAA together. And by God's case, I secured a score of 75 in SBR and a score of 62 in AAA in my very first sitting. And in today's video, we're going to be elaborately discussing about AAA. I will be making a video for SBR also shortly, where I will be covering the strategy for SBR from start to end. So what are you waiting for, guys? Sit back, relax, and enjoy as we deep dive and dissect the strategy for AAA, right? Just a moment, guys. Presenting my screen. Let me know once it just shows up. Yep. I think it's visible now. Yeah. So moving on to the video, guys. So to give you a perspective, guys, I started my AAA preparation in the last week of April because quarter end work was going on in April, and right after that got over, I started my preparation in the last week of April. So with regard to lectures, I did not use any formal lectures for AAA, guys, because most of the content in AAA was predominantly driven by whatever I studied in Indian CA because the Indian standards on auditing are not very different from the international standards on auditing. So with regard to concepts, I did not require any formal lecture to proceed on that. So I use my Indian CA notes itself, guys, for studying concepts. And wherever there were concepts which were not there in my Indian CA syllabus, but were there in the ACCA syllabus, I first referred to Learn Signals YouTube channel, guys, because their podcast for technical articles is top notch. You can listen to that even when you're walking, even when you're traveling. It was too good. A big thanks to them. And also to Ben Wilson. I listened to his podcast during my commute. They are available on Spotify and they were also really helpful. And I also refer to Kashif Kamran sir's videos and Ruchi Goel's videos for technical articles which required a bit of elaboration. And like for example, ISQM one, data analytics, and audit of LCE were covered really beautifully by Kashif Kamran sir in his videos. And the best part was that he also provided the notes for these videos right in the description of the YouTube channel. So it was really helpful to gain a holistic understanding of these areas especially. And the core preparation for questions, guys, because in AAA, as you all know, drafting is the heart of AAA because your drafting technique has to be top notch to help you earn a good score in AAA. So for drafting, I refer to Ahmed Mumtaz sir's master file. So he's a tutor from Wi-Fi. So the master file was really useful. It was like the little Brahmastra, I'd say. So you can find the master file in Wi-Fi WhatsApp group or in my Telegram channel. I'm attaching the link of the same in the description or in the pinned comment. You can probably refer to the same and let me know. And my approach to the syllabus, guys. So I completed obtaining an understanding of the syllabus and concepts and chapters somewhere around May 20th. Like, so I basically started around April end and I got an understanding of all this before May 20th. I know May 20th is really late, guys, but a bit of overconfidence that, okay, I studied SBR and AAA during my CA, Indian CA curriculum as well, because they were more or less similar to what I studied in Indian CA. So I thought I could manage it, but I was wrong because there were a lot of days where I had to stretch and burn the midnight oil as well. But coming to the point, guys, I would suggest you to complete your understanding of the syllabus way earlier. Like, let's say for a June attempt, I feel the ideal time to complete an understanding of the syllabus is probably somewhere around April mid. So you should ideally be doing questions from April mid till your exams. That is what the approach ideally should be. But due to time constraints in office and due to the fact that I was preparing for SBR also, it was not easy for me. So I would not advise you guys to do this because it could end up being suicidal. So I started question practice only after that, guys. So I literally started question practice only after May 20th for a paper that was on June 1st. So I was lucky in the sense that I'd experienced most of these things as a part of statutory audit experience during my work. And also I'd studied most of the things as a part of my Indian CA curriculum, but I would not advise anyone to go ahead with this because it could turn out to be counterproductive. So next, with regard to the important questions from the master file, I would suggest you guys to take a look at the important questions from the master file because Aman sir, he gives a list of top 30 questions. I feel that those questions are exhaustive enough and you can just refer to the mock before your relevant attempt over and above this. You don't need to probably refer to Study Hub or your BPP or Kaplan questions apart from this because I feel the questions were really exhaustive. The questions are handpicked and the best part is that you get the drafting technique for each of these questions in a particular format. And that format is what you probably need to replicate in the exam because what happens is if you look at the Study Hub answers or the past exam answers, they are in a way that you cannot even replicate. It's almost impossible to replicate the answers in such a manner. So when you follow a particular drafting technique in a very structured manner, regardless of whatever question is asked, you follow that particular framework, and you also give a confidence to the examiner that, okay, I know what I'm writing. I know I'm writing something relevant, and the examiner is also confident while marking that, okay, this student is writing something relevant. This student has a decent command over the subject. So it gives a level of confidence to the examiner also in that aspect, guys. So another thing is, I drafted and practiced only one question. Again, this is something I would not suggest you to do. I would suggest you to draft and practice as many questions as you can. So I drafted and practiced a question called Speedy Style Company, which is probably one of the most exhaustive questions in the AAA syllabus, guys. I would suggest you to maybe draft that question alone thrice and other questions at least once in the syllabus, and maybe get the mark from an experienced tutor, because obviously when you're just marking them, that would lead to self-review, right? Like probably if you're able to get them marked by an experienced tutor, you would probably know where you stand, and obviously your drafting skills need to be refined further and further, because the more you draft, the better you tend to get with your drafting, right? That is something important. And as I said earlier, start your questions practice as early as possible. And for drafting techniques specifically for business risk, risk of material misstatement, and ISQM and ethics, please practice the same, because these are the four topics that are definitely going to land on your paper. At least I can say for sure that business risk, ROMS, and ethics are definitely going to be there in your paper. 120% they are going to land in your paper. So do practice the drafting techniques for these question categories. So that is something really important. And as I said earlier, practice mocks, guys, and get them marked by an experienced tutor. Because mocks, I did not do any mocks again due to the paucity of time, but mocks are really important, guys, because mocks not just tell you about your time management, they also tell you how good your presentation is. Because let's say your presentation is not really up to the mark in a particular mock exam, you probably need to sit and analyze where you could have done better and why you probably made a mistake in a particular question, and you need to understand where you need to fix your weak point. So that is very important, and that's why I'd advise you to give a mock. And stay consistent, guys. This is something again which is very important, which I adhere to. This is probably one of the very few points that I convincedly adhere to. So stay consistent, guys, because what happens is, if you're a working professional, there are going to be a lot of deadlines in your work also. There are going to be days on which you cannot probably carry out a productive study session or a long study session. It's perfectly fine. Try taking out 20 minutes of your day. 20 minutes is good enough. All that matters is that you show up on the weekdays when the work gets hectic, and on the weekends, try to maximize the time that you lost during the weekdays, because the difference between a student who gets 50 and 49 is probably the weekends, I'd say, because you need to capitalize your weekends as much as you can, because in the weekends, people are not probably going to disturb you as much. You need to set your boundaries clear, and you need to prioritize the time during which you're going to study. That is something really important, I'd say. And don't wait for the ideal study session, guys, as you said, because you're preparing for an exam along with your daily life, and there is going to be some sort of chaos in life in some way or the other. So you cannot wait for the ideal study session, because if you just keep waiting for the ideal study session, it's never going to come, guys. That is something again important. And let's say if you're a working professional, and let's say you're not going to get a leave just before your AAA exam, you need to back calculate and understand the topics that you probably need to be going through earlier itself, because you're not going to get that day before your exam. And then just keep as much minimal topics as possible before your one day before the exam, because the thing is that since you're not going to get a full day of leave, it would be great if you're able to have as less topics as possible just one day before the exam. And with regard to the approach for the 3 hours of the exam, guys, you have 80 marks for 180 minutes, because 20 marks are going to be professional marks. So dedicate close to 2.25 minutes per mark. Like for example, if it's a 25 mark question, the ideal time to be allocated would be around 56.25 minutes. But I suggest that a deviation of 2 minutes here and there, that's not going to make a significant impact, because you can obviously make up for it. That's not an issue. And understand the requirement of the question clearly, guys. This is a mistake most of the candidates do in AAA, and answer what is relevant instead of beating around the bush. So you have to just give you an example, guys. Let's say the preconditions for a prospective financial information question are getting asked. But let's say you end up writing the preconditions for an audit. The examiner is going to give you a straight zero, guys, because you're not writing something relevant. So you need to understand the requirement of the question and adhere to that strictly, instead of just beating around the bush or writing generic stuff. So that is again something important. I feel that you're going to get that with questions practice and with mock practice. That is something again that's important. And another thing, guys, in the audit risk and other reporting questions, especially questions where you explain the impact of the misstatement on the financial statement or on the particular FSLI, use the updated IFRS 18 terminologies, guys, because as you're aware, there are updated terminologies in IFRS 18. And when you're going to be using that, the examiner is going to be impressed that, okay, you are updated with what's actually happening in the real world, and the examiner might end up giving you more professional marks. So you can get as close as possible to those 20 professional marks if you adhere to this also, along with the drafting techniques. So this is again something that's really important, guys. And another important thing is that let's say you get a bouncer question in an exam, which is more likely to happen because your paper is going to have a bouncer question or two, guys, because it's a professional exam. It is meant to have a couple of bouncer questions. It's perfectly fine. If the question is going to be tough for you, it's going to be tough for everyone else who's sitting on that exam. So just move on from that question, as Tom Clinton says. So JMO, don't open that question for now. Maybe revisit it towards the end. And towards the end, whatever you feel relevant to the requirement of the question, just write that down. And if you're lucky, you could get step mark for the same. So don't worry about that question too much. Just focus on the questions that you know first, knock them down, then come to the ones that you don't know and write something relevant. Just because you don't know a question, guys, don't skip it completely. If you've got time left and if you've answered the remaining questions, please write something at least relevant, and there are good chances of you getting marked well on those also. So that's what I'd say, guys. And if you require any guidance with regard to AAA, or if you have any further doubts with regard to AAA, the comment section is always open. You're most welcome to comment there and I will respond to you. And in case you feel that your doubt is of a personal nature, you can feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn or Telegram. Again, I've mentioned my LinkedIn and Telegram handles on the pinned comment of the video, so you can just refer to that. And with regard to SBR, guys, as I said, I will be making a comprehensive strategy video for that as well, similar to this, on how I probably secured 75 in SBR in the June 26 setting. And guys, if you're probably looking to transition to audit, or if you're someone who's in audit as an ACCA affiliate or as an ACCA intern, you can find a lot of videos on our channel in relation to how audit works in the real world. You can probably consider referring to them. So we have a separate playlist called Audit Practically on our channel, which is going to be really insightful because based on my experience in statutory audit with PricewaterhouseCoopers, I've covered how audit works in the real world and how a particular FSLA is audited in the real world. So it's going to be a real game changer for you guys. So do consider checking that out as well. So thank you so much, guys. If you've hung until here, keep learning, keep growing, and wishing you the best. And feel free to reach out in case you require anything, right? Sure. Thank you. Good day.